time. Oh, there we go. My name is Mark Ramsire. I'm the program director for the business and finance programs here at UCLA Extension. It's the largest department within Extension in terms of programming, and includes quite a few different areas, but including real estate. And so that's where our focus is today. And as we go through the seminar, if you have questions, use the Q&A button to post your questions, and we'll work on trying to get them incorporated into the conversations. If it's current with what's being talked about, we might be able to get it worked into the conversation immediately. Other questions, we probably wait to the end and do a Q&A after the presentations have been completed. So that'll give you a little bit of a background. I'm going to share a little bit of information about Extension, and then we'll turn it over. So let me share. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. Got to see if I can find my. There we go. So UCLA Extension is the continuing education division of UCLA. We're completely self-supporting. I think it's a fun fact that we actually started a year before UCLA's main campus did. And we're one of the largest, if not the largest, continuing education programs in the country. All of our instructors and courses are approved for the business programs through the UCLA Anderson School of Management, and all the programs go through the Academic Senate. So from a academic standpoint, it's the same process that any undergraduate program or school at UCLA would go through. So no difference there in terms of academic expectations or quality. We have a few classes that we thought we might be of interest to you. We have a taxation and real estate class that's coming up in March. We've got the classes related to this particular program specifically that Mark Ruff is teaching on artificial intelligence in real estate. So if you're interested in this topic and wanting to delve deeper into it, you'll have an opportunity to do that. And then we have a real estate investing class that we're going to be offering in the fall. We don't have the exact date set, where we're going to have 5 of our instructors that all have expertise in the real estate market here in Los Angeles do 2 4-hour sessions, intensives, talking about real estate investing in the Los Angeles market. So if that's something that might be of interest to you, watch for that, because that'll be coming up fairly soon. And it's an unusual opportunity to have four or five experts on the topic in the room at one time and be able to draw upon the knowledge of all of them. So I think that's kind of unique opportunity in higher education. Free seminars like this one. We've got some others coming up. We've got an in-person seminar on the business of fandom that's happening in the Gailey Center. That one is selling out quickly. So if that's something that interests you, I would take a look at that today and see if you can get signed in still. We have one on event management, the skills for a city in a spotlight, with all the different events coming up, like the Super Bowl, the Olympics, the Special Olympics, the esports championship, the NBA All-Star game just happened, all those different things. Event management is going to be a really hot topic because there's going to be a lot of formal events going on, but there's going to be a lot of informal events like watch parties. Every time the FIFA World Cup gets going, all the bars and restaurants in the city have watch parties to watch certain games. So, if that's something that's interesting to you, that should be a good seminar. Building money that lasts, teaching the next generation. The instructor that's teaching that class and will be doing the X Open for that class actually wrote a book on how to begin to teach basic financial fundamental skills to children as young as 5 years old by telling them stories and playing games with them. They'll help them to begin to develop basic fundamental skills that they can build upon as they get older. So if that's something that's of interest to you, that's coming up. And then we have AI in the global business market and AI technology in global trade and logistics, where we've been doing a lot of stuff with our international trade and commerce program. We've been working with the Global Chamber of Commerce to do an event. They work with the Port of Los Angeles. So some really great contacts and some people in the trade and supply chain sector. So if those are of interest to you, again, those are coming up along with many others. As you can see, we run something in probably every month, sometimes more often than that. That's a free event. If
Mark,
you're, yes.
we just heard from the audience. It appears that the slides are frozen. They are only able to see the first one.
Oh, okay. Let me, because it's showing, it's moving on my end. Okay. Can you see the second one now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll click on them individually then. So there's some information on the classes. Here's some information on the free seminars, but probably the most important one is going to be this last one. So if you can see the contact information, the first link there is the website, the UCLA website. The second one is the one for the free events. So if you click on that, you can see free events that we're offering, but all the other departments are offering as well. The contact information, Sarah Morey is our student advisor that covers the real estate area. Lena Agola is the program representative that helps work with the instructors to get them all scheduled. Enrique is here. He's the director of the real estate programs. And of course, myself, my contact information is there as well. And then if you're interested in corporate or custom programs, special events, Tamaris does a great job of putting together programs for specific groups of employees and corporate partnerships. So all that information is there. And if you're interested in any of these things, there's the links and the ways to get a hold of us. So with that, let me get out, stop my share, because I know you're not here to listen to me. You're here to hear from our panel of experts and to Mark Ruff. So I am going to turn it over to Mark and let him take over.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate the intro, and everybody in the audience. Thank you for coming. Welcome everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. As you can tell from Mark's intro, UCLA Extension has a lot of real estate related courses. I teach several of them. And thank you very much for coming to our webinar this morning called Artificial Intelligence in Real Estate. Again, my name is Mark Ruff, and I'm going to help Mark moderate our discussion this morning. I wrote and periodically teach a course here at Extension called Artificial Intelligence in Real Estate that we launched last fall to raving reviews. And we're glad that you're here to kind of take another look at the course and the webinar today. The class in the spring rather, will be held live via Zoom. And for more course information of the class of Artificial Intelligence in Real Estate, Mark will probably put a link there in the chat box for you. Okay, so welcome everybody. Glad that you're here. Thanks for taking the time. This is a very exciting, cutting edge topic, and apparently you think it is too. Before we dive in, let's just kind of briefly demystify what artificial intelligence is. At its core, AI refers to computer systems that perform tasks typically requiring human intelligence, things like recognizing patterns, making predictions, understanding language, and learning from data, all of which is very important for the real estate professional. Unlike traditional software, though, AI adapts over time, making it a powerful tool for decision making. I started using AI about 2 years ago, and I wasn't very impressed with it. But over the last year or two, as the robots have been learning, then AI has gotten much more powerful in its application to real estate professionals. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for you in the real estate profession or the business? Quite a lot. And so what we're going to do this morning is we're going to take a look at these applications and kind of discuss what it means for the future of real estate. To help us understand this, I've invited three very, very wonderful, wonderful people. whom I know and who were guest speakers in my classes in the past. Let's start with Mr. Royden Cooper. Royden is co-CEO of WiseWalls. WiseWalls is a startup focused on building agentic property management software utilizing AI, listen to this, to operate commercial real estate portfolios as effectively as possible, listen, with as few human beings as possible. With as few human beings as possible. We're going to talk about that. That might have an ethical implication, and we'll talk about what that means. Mr. Cooper and his team build and deploy AI agents to automate traditional white-collar jobs, both in the facility and then in the head office. WiseWalls is starting in the self-storage industry. Mr. Cooper is opening up his first self-storage facility there in Kentucky. Don't drink too much bourbon, Mr. Cooper, okay? All right. We also have Mr. Cooper is one of my former USC students, and I followed his career, and he's doing quite well. Very, very proud of him. We also have with us Mr. Ben Witten. Ben joined 210 Strategy as a partner in 2025, building on his 15 years in retail real estate location strategy and market intelligence. Before 210, Ben was head of real estate at Placer.ai. If any of you are involved in the retail bucket of real estate, you've probably heard of Placer.ai. Knowledge at 210. Placer AI was one of the largest business location intelligence platform, and Ben is joining us from Fort Worth, Texas. Mr. Cooper is in Kentucky, and we also have with us Mr. Mike Santoro. Mike kind of reached out to me about a year and a half ago as we were kind of talking about artificial intelligence in real estate, and I became interested in Mike. He's doing some amazing things in food and beverage. Chef Mike graduated magna cum laude from Johnson & Wales University. He's been a professional chef for many, many years, and he's leveraging that experience and knowledge to helping restaurants create themes and formats and location strategies. Mike has worked at the New York Palace Hotel. He had his own restaurant in Philadelphia called Mildred, and he's also worked at iconic properties like the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C., and the Beverly Hills Hotel. Today, Mike brings food and beverage and knowledge in AI to that particular bucket of the business. So welcome, everybody. I can't think of three more knowledgeable people to bring to the conversation. We've got Mr. Cooper Royden in self-storage. We have Mike in food and beverage and hospitality, and we have Ben Witten in retail. So welcome, everybody. What we're going to do is we're going to have a roundtable discussion, and then what I'm going to ask each one of our panelists to do is do a live hands-on demonstration of how they each are utilizing artificial intelligence in what they're doing. That's going to be the sexy part of the webinar, but we got to get through a little bit of theory, okay? So let's talk about AI. Let's start with Mr. Cooper. What are you doing in artificial intelligence? What is your experience in it? Then we'll probably talk to Ben, and then we'll probably talk to Mike. What's going on with you in AI?
It really would be best if I could just show you a demo. I think
You want to go to the demo? Let's do the demo. Let's see what Mr. Cooper is doing with AI in real estate.
If you don't mind, yeah. Sorry, I got to go in 25 minutes, but I think
Right.
you'll find this really cool. So
I think I already gave the theory about AI, right? It's predicting patterns, it's recognizing patterns and so forth. And these are very, very important things that can be done very quickly with AI. So go ahead, Mr. Cooper, let us know what's going on.
Great. Can I share my screen?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So here's my pitch to you all. I'm assuming you have some real estate background, so I'm gonna, take some shortcuts. But in commercial real estate, especially in short-term lease assets like self-storage or a hotel or co-warehousing or RV parks, you need to have more front-of-house employees and more back-office employees to be able to run sales, customer support, things like revenue management, accounting, reporting, especially if it's an institutional portfolio. And all of these were typically done by white-collar employees. In-facility employees, because we divide them as either in-facility or in the head office. In-facility employees were typically minimum wage with high churn, especially in like self-storage or hotels. Head office employees are typically paid a bit higher. But the idea is that most of these white-collar jobs are going to be gone in the next 5 years. Operating companies for short-term lease commercial real estate assets are going to be very, very small teams of humans using AI agents to operate the entire portfolio the only real humans you're going to need, besides for executive oversight, are for maintenance and repairs. And so that's what we're doing. We're starting in the self-storage space. We're opening our first self-storage facility here in Dayton, Kentucky on March 1st. We have no employees on site, and we only have one person in the head office. Everything from, which I'm about to show you, everything from sales to customer support to revenue management to accounting, like bookkeeping and reporting, is being done agentically with one human overseeing it all. And so you can go to storgoselfstorage.com. That's our brand. So our technology company owns our opco as well. And you can call this number if you want to test it out yourself. But right now I'm going to call it, and you can see kind of what these agents can do. How this works technically is I will speak, and then what happens is the agent uses what's called a speech to text model to turn my voice into text, which can then be processed by a large language model. So like ChatGPT, it's like one of the foundation models. The large language model reasons, creates a response based on a knowledge base, which is like a preloaded amount of data and knowledge that we give to the foundation model. And then it then speaks back to me by using a text to speech model, which is the opposite of the speech to text. So now let's get started. One second. All right, here we go.
Welcome to Storgo Self-Storage in Dayton, Kentucky. Press 1 to talk to our virtual agent to book a unit or get answers to general questions about our facility. Press 2 to connect to a human agent for any other inquiries. Okay, I will transfer you now to Alice, our virtual assistant. Please note that Alice cannot hear you while speaking. And it also helps Alice if your answers are more than one word.
Hello, I'm Alice, your virtual assistant. Before I can assist you, may I have your first name, please?
My first name is Royden.
Just to make sure I heard you correctly, is your name Royden?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thanks for your patience. So how can I assist you today?
I'm looking to rent a self-storage unit.
When would you like to move in? We have move-ins available starting on March 1st.
I'd like to move in on March 1st. That's perfect.
Could you tell me a bit more about what you'd like to store? This will help me suggest the right unit for you.
I'm looking to store 2 bedrooms full of belongings, including 2 mattresses, a couch, and a small refrigerator.
Okay, so based on your storage needs, I think your best option is our 10 by 10 climate-controlled interior. The standard monthly rate is $166 plus tenant insurance, but there is currently a promotion for this unit. You would be charged just $117.86 for the first 2 months, plus tenant insurance. After this period, you would get back to standard rates. Would you like to proceed with this option?
How much is tenant insurance?
Tenant insurance for this unit is $16 per month. Do you have any other questions, or would you like to move forward with this unit?
Nope, that works for me. Let's move forward.
Do you want to hear about the highlights of the contract or prefer to read them on the website?
Sure. Can you give me some concise highlights regarding the rental agreement?
Okay, you are renting a storage unit from Storgo Self-Storage for the facility in Dayton, Kentucky on a month-to-month basis, with rent due on the same day each month. We have a lien on the items you store for unpaid rent and related charges. Your package includes the Storgo storage insurance on the goods you keep in the unit. Finally, for everyone's safety, you cannot sleep or work in the unit or store illegal or unsafe items. Do you have any questions?
Nope, that's it. Thank you so much.
Great, so I can confirm that your 10 by 10 climate controlled interior unit has been temporarily reserved. You will receive an SMS shortly with a secure link. You will have 30 minutes to finish the rental process on the website. Please let me know if you have any more questions. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much. No more questions. Bye-bye.
So from start to finish, Mr. Cooper, you're able to select, book, reserve, talk about, find out what is kind of the ins and outs of that particular unit without any human intervention.
Yeah, the key thing is, and so I just got the SMS. The key thing is the agent has CRUD access, so create, read, update, destroy access to the system of record, so the property management system. This is like the key insight. And so the agent can create reservations, it can update reservations, everything a human would do. But like agents are going to do this in the future. You're not going to need humans for white collar jobs when it comes to operating companies, which is really important because operating companies are very expensive to start, right? They typically lose money for multiple years before they become self-sustainable. And so this is going to cause more real estate companies to be started, more real estate concepts that are more innovative to be started, which will be really interesting for our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, here I'll quickly just show you how the reservation looks because it's pre-filled. So let me just email it to myself, and then I'll finish the demo. So. All right, so I received an SMS, so a text message with this link. And the idea is we want the customer to finish the booking on their phone, but they can also finish it on their desktop, of course. And so I don't want to hog everyone's time, but pretty much I would now continue the booking flow. But you see my first name is taken from the conversation I just had with the agent. My phone number is taken from the conversation. And you can see this is the unit that I booked, which is the 10 by 10 interior unit with insurance that's $16 per month. The rest of the booking process takes like 5 minutes. What we do is we take their credit card. We ask them what they're storing. They have to verify their identity and they have to sign their rental agreement. And it's all done digitally without human intervention. Yeah. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm actually intrigued by that, Royden, because as most people understand about self-storage, it's very low cost because there's, not a lot of operating expenses. You have property taxes, maybe some exterior utilities, lighting, and maybe some gates and security and stuff like that. But if we can eliminate that labor component, now you have your operating income that's increasing. And as everybody knows, the higher the net operating income, the higher the value of the property, all of the things being equal. So what we're doing here, Mr. Cooper rather is doing, is he's driving the net operating income by eliminating some of the operating expenses, which is from an operating perspective, brilliant.
Exactly. So the average savings, so we're part of a larger private self-storage REIT that has about 51 properties around the US. The average savings we calculated are going to be around $70,000 per year, which if you apply that at a 6 cap, right, that's 1.1 million in additional exit value.
Exactly. Just by eliminating some operating expenses, which Mr. Cooper learned from where?
From Mark Ruff's course, of course.
Thank you for the plug. Thank you for the plug. Thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. Appreciate it. Now, I understand Mr. Cooper has to get back to a meeting. He's in Kentucky, and he's opening up that self-storage place. So congratulations. You're doing fantastic, and good luck with the new operation.
I mean, I have to leave in like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, so then hang out.
I can be helpful, then
yeah.
Well, let's continue. I was curious, right? And like that was amazing. Thanks for the demo. So you signed the storage agreement, right? And you mentioned there's nobody on site. How does like access control work? Is that done through an app or RFID?
Yeah.
Or like talk a bit about that.
It's done by PIN codes. So as soon as they sign the rental agreement, they get a welcome pack. It has their unit number, it has a guide to the facility, it has their PIN codes, it has everything they need to access the site, which includes an exterior gate and a facility door, and then get to their unit. Once they get to the unit, it's already going to be opened because we have a maintenance technician who's part-time come in every day and mark certain units for rent. And then it will have a free lock already on the door as well. So they can use the lock, access their unit, exit the facility all securely and without human intervention.
Yeah. Wow. And eliminating that expense. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Really appreciate it. Let's move on to Ben Witten. Ben was with Placer.ai for several years. He moved on to 210 strategy. He's with us, coming to us rather, from Fort Worth, Texas. And Ben is, I can't think of anybody better to kind of bring in that retail component of artificial intelligence, which is really, really, really taking on strong. So Ben, talk to us about what you're doing in AI and kind of how people in the audience who are interested in the retail component or other aspects of real estate can employ and use this new technology. What you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. Mark, thanks for the invitation and including me again. Excited to be here.
Glad you're here.
Say as a theme, for 210, we're focused on growth strategy and location strategy for retailers, hospitality, consumer facing businesses. And so we're really more on the advisory side. And we would say like our model is we're a white glove service, but we're tech enabled and AI enabled. And so what that means essentially is, we're working with kind of a whole host of different brands and concepts across retail, hospitality, developers as well. But essentially, everything we do is built around, who is the customer, where are they, how can we best serve them? And so, a California brand we're currently working with is Viore. We're helping them go from 100 stores in the U.S. to 200, really dialing in on who are those best customers, which locations have the highest probability of success, what are those success factors, and how can we really, once we've defined good and success, go find more locations that look like that. And so within all of that, right, we're using a lot of AI and automation on the back end to ingest, millions and billions of data points. And so in the past, when I've joined this group, I was at Placer AI, right, as you said, Mark, and Placer was ingesting cell phone location data, billions of data points a day of pins, phones hitting geofences, sharing location data, sharing that into servers, then processing all of that data and synthesizing it to make sense of it. And so we're a downstream customer of that data. We ingest Placer data in our process. We also ingest data from a company called Spatial AI, which is basically doing the same thing, but with credit card data. So we can say, okay, what percentage of credit cards that have shopped at Lululemon also have shopped at Viore in the last 12 months? What's the average ticket size? Where do they live? What psychographic profiles do those fall into? Right. So we're kind of taking all of that data, building it into our models, where we then are able to see, okay, what are the top segments? What are the top customer groups that purchasing at the highest frequency, largest transaction size, and where are those customer groups most concentrated? In addition, we'll layer in that co-tenancy data to say, is it better to be next to a Whole Foods or a Target or whoever those might be, or are there local retailers that we see a high affinity for? And so it all kind of starts with who is that target customer, and we do a whole kind of host of analysis on site attributes. We're using machine learning, and we're using random forest and like K-clustering to look at the fleet of stores and say, okay, what factors are most correlated to success?
Mm-hmm.
Based on what we know, can we estimate sales with some level of success?
And so that's the predictive nature of AI, right, Ben? The predictive
It
nature?
is.
Yeah.
It is, yes. Based on, back to your point of identifying patterns, pattern recognition, large data sets, being able to draw meaningful conclusions from all of the above to then apply that to the art and science of real estate, right? There's a lot of science in what we do, but it's also kind of equally art. And that's where the human intuition and certainly the relationship side of this comes in. And we work with a number of broker partners, and they love us because their job obviously is heavily transactional. We help them make better decisions faster. And so deals that previously had gotten held up in real estate committee for weeks or months, we help them either get to a quick no or a quicker yes. And so that's kind of where we fit into the process. This is an example that we pulled together for one of our restaurant clients, a national group. It's publicly traded, but essentially we tiered out their fleet to understand, what differentiates the top performers from the bottom performers. And so we obviously saw traffic was highly correlated. We looked at, it was interesting. A lot of times, folks think, oh, the higher the income, the better. In this case, we found that actually not to be true. There was a diminishing return. And so by looking at correlations and looking at, some of the coefficients in the model, we were able to see there's actually a middle income, about a 75 to 125,000, where there was kind of a peak. But beyond that, we actually saw a diminishing return.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We saw that our top segment, the fast-paced family, which is a psychographic segment that we've built on top of spatial AI data, was super important. We saw that that's almost more than double what we see at the poor performing locations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just to kind of go through some examples here, everything that we ingest and the output we derive, we also have a platform that our clients log into, and so they're able to see, their fleet, the variables correlated to sales, and then ultimately we layer in. I mentioned kind of some of the customer profiling here, right? But we layer in, co-tenants. We layer in brand affinities. Again, all of this is produced with AI and machine learning to get to what are the brands that these consumers are most frequenting? Where are those located? Where's the highest concentration and highest probability of success? And so this is to show kind of one of the outputs of our model. And essentially what it's doing is looking at, the variables in the model and the weights, but it's also showing the correlation of the percentile of our score. So the output of all of our variables, how does that score compare to sales, right? And so in this case, with the weights in this particular scenario, we saw a 71% correlation between actual store performance and the score output here that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take all of those insights and we have a mapping platform that our clients can then log into. And so on the back end, we've automated the infrastructure and the pipelines where all of the data required and how it's synthesized, through Python and through which, by the way, one of the best uses of AI is coding, building code, modifying code, integrating code. All of that feeds the data, the appropriate data into our master databases and data lakes, where we're then able to assign similarity scores. And so for this particular brand, Flower Child was the client in this instance. We're able to look at the market of Atlanta and say, if you look at Avalon in particular, what are your most similar stores?
Mm-hmm.
What's the similarity score? What's the sales volume? Obviously, we have to hide this for confidentiality, but what are the sales volumes of those stores? And how does this location stack up?
Yeah.
Both in terms of, total visits, the target audience, the percentage of visits, what percent of all visits come from your target audience, right? The cohort that you most win with.
Yeah. Now, everybody listen to what Ben is saying, because what he's pointing out here is that when you're looking at a retail market potential, like a trade area, we're looking at disposable incomes and population growth and et cetera. When a market analyst does this by hand, this is going to take weeks or months to do. And this can be done using artificial intelligence almost on the fly.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a great point, right? And so one of the next progressions is for us is actually integrating LLMs more in a consumer facing way. What we've found is, our business is exclusively referral based. And so what we've found and seen and heard is, not earth shattering, but people like working with people that they like and trust. And so, cannot overemphasize, right, the value of just reputation. And our ethos is we believe in doing good work and delivering with excellence, and the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah.
I think in this world that we're in 2026, clients kind of more and more expect immediate answers, and they're some more than others expect a level of being able to ask a question and kind of go back and forth with a chatbot, if you will. And so one of the things that we're evaluating, integrating in our business more and more is that type of an instance. At the end of the day, and I think everybody probably knows this, but for chatbots and LLMs, the intelligence is incredible, but the most important piece is the underlying data that goes in as an ingredient, right? And so having first party data, having obviously sales at the fleet level, having competitor sales, and all of that is critically important. And so we believe that, building the best and aggregating the best data really kind of sets us up for success, while also investing heavily in the relationship side of how we interface and work with our clients.
Yeah.
My background, 15 years in retail real estate. My partner JJ's background is 15 years in Nike and on the strategy side. And so what we found is, there's a lot of, again, real estate's an art and a science, and not everything can be explained in a spreadsheet or a data table.
Yeah.
But being able to kind of communicate the nuance and when things are on the fringe, or there's certainly human discretion involved. And so that's for us is a big piece of our business. But at the end of the day, it's we're ingesting, AI data, we're using AI to synthesize data and derive, key insights and recommendations.
Yeah. Ben mentioned, and Ben, we're going to ask you to kind of button it up, but Ben was mentioning a thing called LLM, which is a large language model. So I call it the robot, artificial intelligence, I call the robot. So the robot is taking data and learning from it. So what Ben was mentioning is that when you have the primary data source, then you have access to accurate data. It's not secondary. So having the accurate data then is important for the robot to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. And so then what else are you guys doing to kind of wrap it up? How can this be useful to people who are here today on the webinar?
Yeah, I would say, we work with brands, everything from, we've worked with a 3-unit Pilates studio in Phoenix, a car wash company, also out of Phoenix, up to like, Bloomingdale's and Viore and Warby Parker. And so I would say at the end of the day, real estate is a people business. It's a location business. And so understanding who the people are in the area, understanding the fundamentals of what makes a good site in real estate, and really the key performance factors, all of that is really important. And I think to your comment earlier about net operating income and being able to reduce the expense load, right? We're helping our clients reduce risk by getting to a quick no faster, right? Understanding, hey, this site has what it takes to be successful, or maybe it's coming up short. Let's move on. So I think at the end of the day, I can't say it enough. It all goes back to art and science, and really kind of we're at the intersection of where those two worlds come together.
Very, very grateful for your insight, Ben. You're always right on it, and look forward to me inviting you to the spring course, Artificial Intelligence. If Ben has time, maybe he'll loop in and give us another chat on retail and how AI is kind of changing the retail business. Very,
I'd
very
like to
grateful.
give you an update on what we're doing.
Absolutely grateful for your time, Ben. Hang out with us for a little while longer. Mike, of course, Mike Santoro's a chef. I'm jealous. I think in a past life, I was a frustrated chef. My partner and I are very big foodies. And so whenever I have a chance to talk to a chef, I want to talk about food. But here we're going to talk about how Mike is using AI to help food and beverage businesses. Mike, what are you guys doing in AI and how can it help people in the audience?
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me.
Glad you're here.
So, yeah, Mark said I'm a chef, and I kind of got started in this whole thing because I had a restaurant in Philly. I trained in Michelin restaurants in Europe, did the whole thing. Then I opened a restaurant in Philadelphia in this horrible location that had a trail of tears of failures before it. So, we were like the fifth iteration of a restaurant, and, I'm a young guy thinking, we got this, open it up. 4 years later, James Beard nominations, Rising Star Chefs, kind of all of that stuff. But it didn't work, like the numbers didn't work. And so it really drove in kind of what Ben was saying, is that location intelligence is so important. If you have the wrong site or it doesn't resonate with the community, then good luck, basically. So I put a couple slides together.
Yeah. Let us see what you guys are doing.
Mike, I love your music on your landing page, by the way. It's a
Oh,
great
thank
vibe.
you.
It is cool.
It's a great vibe.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike is using, and his team are using artificial intelligence to help restaurateurs design themes or even create menus. based on who they believe their ultimate customers will be. And using that machine intelligence is fascinating to me in food and beverage.
I don't think I can share. You might have to give me some permission, maybe.
Mark will hook you up there. Mike, give him just 1 second.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, for those of you who are with us, this morning, thank you very much for being here. Mark put in the chat box earlier a link, if you're interested, in our spring artificial intelligence and real estate class. It'll meet for 11 consecutive weeks, once per week, via Zoom, live via Zoom. So check that out. Mark, you might want to put another link in for those who came on late. Mike, take it away. What are you guys doing in AI in the hospitality and food and beverage?
Yep. So the question that we started off to answer was this: why do restaurants fail so much? 75% of them fail. It is the second highest amenity in a district, a development, a hotel, an office space. Pretty much any piece of real estate that has multi-use or in an area with food and beverage is the second most desired. So it's so important to have it. It's a critical mass builder. It's an activation method, but they always fail. The cost to the landlord on average is about $350 in downtime, tenant TIA, or kind of just blight, any of that kind of adds up. I think we did a study in 24. It was $1.7 trillion of lost economy due to restaurant failure, restaurant
Wow.
turnover.
Very
So
competitive business.
yeah, so we take it kind of we're a little bit further downstream from I think where Ben is at. We sift out everything except for food and beverage. So we only look at really transaction data as it relates to food and beverage, cellular, Wi-Fi, but mostly POS data. So if you had a Caesar salad today, we saw that you had a croissant this morning 3 blocks over. So we can track where that money is coming from in the trade area and what that particular pin is buying elsewhere and can start to see who it is that's buying what in the area. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the concept and brand and align it to the market so it resonates in the marketplace. If the marketplace isn't coming to your site, then you're misaligned, and that's where failure starts to happen. So some of the projects we done, like in the restaurant industry, we did a concept called Mirate. So it was in Beverly Hills called Miramay, and it was very kind of modern Mexican food where everybody in Beverly Hills is like Caesar salads and Sancerres. So it didn't quite work and it was failing. So we repositioned it, put more tacos in, tequila forward, moved it to the east side, found a new site, and now I think it's number 16 best bar in the world.
Wow, that's
They're
amazing.
killing it, totally killing it. They now have 4 locations. The W Hotel, aging brand in Hollywood, wasn't connecting. We repositioned the whole building and received a bunch of awards. We just launched that last year. The Shea Hotel in Culver, which is one that we did, which is a smaller boutique hotel. It was struggling on the weekend. We improved its weekend occupancy by 40% because we created specific concepts for it that resonated with the real-time market intelligence. So we drew people into the rooftop bar and pool concept based on the bohemian concept we created specifically for them. So this interpretation of the data can be either brand specific, like, hey, this brand looks like this and could work here, or site specific, hey, create a concept unique to this that will add value to the whole thing, or find me a brand that will work in this site. And works in
Okay,
all.
wait a second. We can't let that go.
Okay.
That is very powerful stuff. Did you hear what Mike said? Mike said that he puts it into the robot, like, okay, robot, This is a particular location. Now create for me from scratch a theme, a food and beverage theme that is going to be appropriate for that site. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Or find me a site that's going to hit a particular demographic of that my brand is trying to target. Now, this again usually takes weeks or months to do by hand, and you program it into an AI platform, and you get the results, in a matter of, I might be exaggerating, but in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
So that is very powerful stuff.
Even in office at work. So Entrada is a building in Culver City, Class A build was built, and we created the whole ground floor concept. Got the largest lease in 24 in LA County because of it. So we last time I was with you guys, I was doing a lot of advisory with the Imagine Lab. I've since become licensed to transact. So now I do advisory. It plugs into a brokerage called City Street, which again specializes in food and beverage.
Yeah.
We handle the whole vertical from dirt to, serving Sancerre,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. For any type of business that occupies real estate, particularly the real property owner or the real property operator. If restaurants, 75% of them fail within the first 3 years, or a particular location isn't appropriate, then what AI can do is it can help reduce the risk of making a wrong decision. As Ben said, we get you to a faster no, or maybe even a more qualified yes. So location sensitive data and being reducing that risk can help the operator improve.
I'm going to speed through some of this kind of, nuts and bolts sausage making, so to speak, of it all. But essentially, we're pulling a site, AI is sifting through all the credit card swipes and cellular geofence marketing, targeting everything, and suggesting a few cuisines and predicting a revenue assumption, which is within 10%, we found. Did you want to say something there?
I'm just looking at the number two option, vegan and vegetarian has higher top line revenue. That's surprising to me, but
Mhm.
that's just a little inside joke.
Yeah, definitely, right?
Yeah, inside foodie joke.
This one we did at the Watergate Hotel, so this is a location for there.
Do you see the slide? Everybody, look, this is fascinating to me, and I teach this stuff because every time I have these guys together, I'm constantly learning, right? Um, Based on a particular trade area or maybe a particular site, then the AI robot is recommending themes that the restaurateur should consider. Middle Eastern, vegan and vegetarian, Indian, Southern, Armenian. I mean, this is based on the demographics that are surrounding a particular location, which is extremely important. And it's fascinating to me, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can start to see, is Armenian going to work broadly at the Watergate Hotel? Unlikely, but
Unlikely.
you start to see some threads between Middle Eastern, Indian, Armenian. Maybe there's a rice involved in this cuisine. Maybe there's obviously a grilled meat component, not a lot of composition, shareable things. So you can, as an experienced, advisor or restaurateur or whatever, you're going to be able to sort of, you know, extract what makes sense out of all this throughout all of the information that you see. So we came up with the steakhouse for that. You're plugging in your check average, it's spitting out your revenue, you're detailing your concept to it. So you're giving it parameters so it can check against that as it's sifting through the data, pushing away, quick service restaurant in this instance, pushing away QSR pad, pushing away, inline, mom and pop dinner only kind of stuff. It's extracting your demand based on what's happening in the trade area. And then this is kind of where it gets interesting. It's painting a picture of who are your diners into several different types of buckets based on the trade area. So in this instance, 14% were top tier, 11% were laptops and lattes, 12% were metro renters. So you know who they are, what they're buying, how they're buying. So what's important to them on the top tier, reservation only, PDR, higher end steak cuts, laptop and lot, you have different types of things that they care about.
Yeah.
And you can see how you can put it all together and appeal to them based on what they're making up in your dining.
Yeah. And everybody in the audience, regardless of the real estate product type, we have to be very mindful of the trade area. I mean, Mike talked about trade area, Ben talked about trade area. Mr. Cooper didn't really talk about it, but it's underlying every single product type that we wish to build, develop, or invest in. We want to know the demographics, the disposable incomes, what these people look like, smell like, the whole thing. And if we understand the demographics, then the robot can start to paint a psychographic profile, right? The demographics is the who, what, where, when, and how. The psychographics is why are these people doing what they're doing? And so this would usually take days, weeks, or months to complete. And now we have this technology called artificial intelligence, where if you prompt it right, we'll come up with the answers much more quickly.
Yeah. It's going to tell you where they're coming from, so you can understand, they're coming from home or work. What should you be doing to capture more there? Where they're coming from. In this zip code, 18% of your diners are coming from there. So if we're going to market, we're going to market mostly to that area. We're not going to waste a whole bunch of time in that area.
Right.
Price density, so you can understand how your concept will relate in terms of check average to other ones. So in this particular one, in a 2.5 mile radius, you had 737 restaurants at the $1 range and 83 bars at the $1 range. So very saturated in the low end dining, and then a lot of opportunity in that upscale dining. So you can position correctly, cuisine density. So in that area, what do you already have in your area? Are you going to put another American restaurant when you have 300? I wouldn't recommend it.
You have to be very price competitive.
Where's the gap based on the closure, the density, and the history? You can start to see what's missing and rank and you can rank it based, so like the food truck, French, tea room, these bolded ones are considered to be a gap, whereas these other ones are not.
Right.
And then the history of closures again. So, if you look at all these three, you have 300 American restaurants, 502 closed in 12 years.
Right.
It just becomes noise. So you can sort of sift through all these different layers and understand, what you should be doing from a concept resonance standpoint. So that's how we're using it. So we're improving lease up time by getting to a quicker yes, or a fast no or fast yes.
Yeah.
We're reducing turnover by getting the right concept in the right area. And I sit on the WeHo, the West Hollywood Development Board, and we're resetting landlord expectations right now. They're asking for $12, $14 a square foot in rent, and it just doesn't give you any room as an operator to survive.
Yeah.
So we're showing them this data like, look, we have to get this down because you'll never get an operator that can afford $14 a foot, selling whatever they're selling. It just the math doesn't work for them.
Yep.
So
yep.
it's a good tool.
Mike, thank you. You want to just kind of wrap it up briefly?
That's it.
All right. You want to unshare your screen for me, Mike? So listen, everybody, we had 3 so far. What I believe to be phenomenal presentations of what artificial intelligence is doing in a variety of real estate buckets: retail, self-storage, food and beverage. Now, Mr. Cooper had to go open up his self-storage facility in Kentucky, so he's left us. But let's take just a moment to talk about some ethical implications in artificial intelligence. Before we began the webinar, we were chit-chatting a little bit about how artificial intelligence is displacing a lot of labor. In fact, Mr. Cooper even said, well, we're trying to eliminate actually the workforce from the self-storage facility and have everything done online, or chat bots and texting and voice bots and so forth. What are some ethical implications that each of you might be kind of considering in terms of how artificial intelligence is impacting real estate? Ben, you want to just give us some thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a deep question. And I think at the end of the day, probably most simply, I would say I view AI as a tool to supplement or augment human effort, not a replacement. There certainly are areas where there is cannibalization or replacement happening. I would say for us and our business and our clients, it's really much more of a kind of an add-on augmentation, supplementation. Um, it's a good question. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to ethics, certainly for us, like, data privacy, data rights, for our clients, like not using client data for training AI models or anything like that, making sure that everything is architecturally secure, cybersecurity, all of that's super important in the context of AI. I think it's like anything, right? AI is like the iPhone or a hammer. It can be used for good or evil, and I think it's incumbent on each of us to use it for human flourishing. And if we get more, cool restaurants and cocktail bars out of it, with Mike's help, I love that.
Great. Ben, I appreciate that. And Mike, I'm going to get your take on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would just say that in the service economy, which is mostly the food and beverage world, it's very much, there is a lot of AI replacement in terms of ordering at QSR places, which actually is more helpful to the operator because they can generate more sales because the order's coming through quicker.
Mhm.
On the back end, it's sifting, it helps the operator also sift through all the data to get to the solution that makes more profit for the company so they can stay in business. In terms of replacing a line cook, not there
Right,
yet. In terms
right.
of replacing a server, so, a little bit with support. But in the service-based economy, you see, they're pretty resilient, pretty strong. It is shrinking the footprint mostly, though. Like the 5,000, 6,000 square foot restaurants are being shrunk to 2,000 square foot, much quicker
Yeah.
turn kind of things.
Yeah, I appreciate that input. Um, from my particular perspective, I teach a variety of courses here at UCLA Extension, including the artificial intelligence in real estate class. I, you know, not only recommend, but it's required that students in the AI class have AI platform access. I recommend in my other courses that students utilize AI, but don't rely on it. I think that's one of the risks that artificial intelligence is bringing when we rely too much on the robot, then we're not learning ourselves. And that's what I impress upon my students. Thank you very much. Mark, are there any questions perhaps from our attendees?
Yeah, Aaron asked. He's about to finish up his real estate certificate with us, and he said, "Is having a human element with compassion and emotion and care, etc., a thing of the past when it comes to home purchasing in the real estate market because of AI?"
Well, I'll take a stab at that. I know Mike's licensed. I'm a licensed real estate broker. I've been a licensed real estate agent in California since 1988, and that's actually how I got my career in real estate started, by brokering homes, and then it kind of grew into other aspects and other buckets of real estate. I also teach real estate pre-licensing classes here in the state of California and in the state of Washington, where I'm a licensed instructor. And what I teach my real estate brokerage students is this: I don't believe that AI is going to completely replace the human agent, because there's showings, there's negotiations that are very, very subtle, that requires human intervention. But what I will say is that I believe the paperwork and the documentation circulation and getting things taken care of, I think that back end office component is going to have an impact on that. But I think the front end brokerage piece, I think scheduling showings and things, and scheduling appointments to meet with owners and show property, I think that might have an AI component, but I don't think it's going to replace the human being. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, what I've been seeing is that it does a good job of increasing the deal time of smaller, quick leasing, like for instance, the self-storage kind of thing, or even short-term rentals or home
Mm.
rentals.
Yeah,
Those are very quick turnarounds, and so it does a good job giving you what you need, getting you information, getting you a code to get in there, boom. But on the higher end stuff, the stuff that's more complicated requires explanation and like more hand holding or customized shopping with a client. I see a gap there. I don't see that happening.
yeah, yeah. Ben, did you have any comment on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I think what you said, Mark, I don't think it's a replacement. It's a supplement,
Yeah,
tool that helps support. It helps. Honestly, it's AI can be a superpower that allows us to be more human and take away some of the tactical day-to-day redundant tasks and spend
Yeah.
more time getting to know the client and their needs, right? And building the relationship.
Yeah, we see that happening a lot in the accounting profession, where a lot of the kind of bookkeeping functions and repetitive tasks are being replaced by AI, which is kind of well versed to do it. Mark, any other questions from our audience? Anything
We
else?
just had another one pop up, but before we get to that one, I have a question. We've
Sure.
got you guys talked about being able to identify spaces that are comparable to spaces that are already successful for your clients and helping them with that. And Ben, you talked about the art and science of it. And I know in Los Angeles anyway, a big part of that is um, traffic and parking. I mean, getting to a place, it may look like it's the same place on paper, but when you start to get out in the LA traffic, it's not the same place necessarily. And I think that's where that art maybe comes in a little bit on the science. So can you talk a little bit about how you evaluate things after you've got that raw data to be able to account for that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we one have we talked about the similarity model where we'll look at how does a site compare based on a couple hundred different variables to the existing fleet. Where does it stack up? What would you estimate performance likely to be? We also, another thing that comes into play, and you said it, Mark, like having the right data is critical, and relationships are important because in the broker network, right, that's where a lot of times sales are shared across brands or different concepts. And so being able to have kind of as a litmus test, how are other concepts performing is really important as kind of a gut check around is this the right side of the street? Do we want to be on the other side of the intersection? Is this the right occasion? Is this the have the morning traffic that we think it does? Or is this more lunch business? So I think it's a combination of the data science, but also the relationships, anecdotal, and data that you're able to infer or collect from other market participants.
Yeah, and AI is really good about kind of sifting and sorting through that, but there needs to be kind of a human component to make those intuition and those creative types of decisions. I know Mike has something to say
I
about
want to
this.
add to that one. I was just going through this the other day. So there's a site on Sunset and Alvarado, Silver Lake, great market. And so all the data is showing, yes, this site's going to rock it. It's going to be great. I live in the area, so I drove past it, and it's, just like Ben was saying, it's like it's on Alvarado, it's not on Sunset, and it's this horrible drive-in experience of this strip center where it's just a cluster at a light. It's never going to work. It's always vacant. So you have to like look at the site. You have to go there.
Yeah.
You get good intelligence, but you got to know the market.
Yeah, exactly. The data might say yes, but somebody who knows the trade area might say, "Oh no, that's not going to work." And I think that's the human component that I think cannot simply be replaced by the robot. The robot is really good about scaling and detecting patterns and noting things like that. But a human kind of overview, I think, is really important as well. Mark, anything else from the audience?
Yes.
What you got?
Let's see. This one says, I have a question about using AI for property management. Um, how can it be utilized or a system other than email correspondence?
Okay, well, I'm not the expert on the AI and property management. Mr. Cooper was, and he gave us a little demonstration right at the beginning of the webinar of like a voice bot. There was a conversation that was going on, but there was no human at the other end of the line. And Mr. Cooper was able to show us how artificial intelligence can do wonderful things with property management. For those of you who are also familiar, Appfolio does a lot of work in property management as well. And we'll have a guest speaker from Appfolio in our spring course. Maybe Ben and Mike might want to join us as well. So I'll let them make up their mind. But property management is kind of positioned well for AI, but there has to be the human component too. Yeah. You guys want to chime in on the property management side? I'm not the expert on that one. Neither. I get it.
I think that was
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
My question, I wanted to ask Royden, and maybe I'll ask him another time, is like how he thinks about these property management LLMs or chatbots or voice functions Like you got to think Marriott is building something similar for booking hotels or has something. And is there a broad use tech that can be licensed across, storage and hotels are a very different business, but on the functionality with some adaptations, I would think it'd be fairly similar in terms of architecture.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, anything from you? Are you good on that one?
Yeah, I'm good on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I think AI and property management is really coming on strong. Mark, anything else?
Yes. Are there any tools that would help apply psychographics to multifamily? It seems like multifamily asset class is the slowest to adopt new tech, and we oftentimes utilize holistic or art approaches more more than specific scientific approach to determine the pros and cons of a specific multifamily property.
Okay, a long question. I'm gonna ask Ben to take that one right off the top. I think Ben kind of has a little take on that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I would echo the sentiment. I think multifamily is traditionally very focused on real estate. What's the rent? What's the occupancy? What's the unit mix, etc. As they should be. And when I was head of real estate at Placer, we were selling into a lot of the largest owners of multifamily, and I would say some were certainly more open to location intelligence and psychographic data. Others were more resistant. I think historically, it's just hasn't really been part of the conversation as much in terms of data.
Yeah.
But it has always been like who is the renter is a part of the conversation that you can't really overlook. So to me, it feels like it's kind of somewhat nascent, early innings, using that type of data in multifamily. There are obviously, fair housing implications. And so I think that where the line is on understanding who's in the area and who's in the market and who's migrating to the area, how that plays in versus how you screen renters, obviously, and what have you, two very different conversations. But um, I think there's definitely more to come in the housing space.
Yeah. Mike, do you have anything on that multifamily? I know you're in food and beverage and
Yeah.
hospitality.
I mean, I guess my question would be, in what regards was the person asking the question, in what regards were they trying to get an answer for? Was it to improve lease up or to improve which part of it?
Yeah, no, no, I understand. And everybody in the audience, just so you know, the webinar is being recorded. Your pictures and well, of course, won't be on the recording, just our panelists and our moderator. But if you do want to ask a question, go ahead and just quickly type it in the chat box, and Mark will pepper at us one by one. Anything else, Mark?
Yes. Uh, this attendee said you may have missed it, but have you discussed the error rate yet? On basic chat GPT level, he sees a huge amount of errors in the programs and with some of the topics discussed today. So how do you verify accuracy? I know both of you have your own systems. So where does that come into play?
Ben
Mike,
and
you want
Mike?
to take it?
Yeah, I'll hop in.
Mike,
I
go
mean,
for it.
it's highly it can be inaccurate, no question. Everybody knows that. But that's kind of where the art and science comes in. There's
Yeah,
a sensibility smell test that it has to pass for an operator. You kind of, is that right? Or let me look again. And if you sort of do it over and over again, you might see variance and then it gets a little bit better. But it has to pass the smell test, no
Yeah.
yeah.
question.
Ben?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Mike said, and I think it's critical too. Like, there was an earlier comment about knowledge or mental atrophy if you rely overly on AI, and I think it's important to have fundamental understanding of certainly the real estate business and fundamentals, and knowing kind of the barometer of does this make sense? Is this logical? Understanding the relationships of data, cap rates and value as a simple example, right? But
Yeah,
just you extrapolate that out to be able to identify when something's not right, to question the AI and refine it and give it feedback, because I think that's key, right? You can't just take it at face value. There has to be a trust but verify process and
yeah.
philosophy.
Thank you, Ben. And let me give you guys an example. I teach a number of courses here at Extension, one of which is real estate investment analysis, where we kind of underwrite the cash flows or kind of projecting and underwriting cash flows to determine rates of return in real estate investment analysis. And what I tried was to roll up one of my assignments into an AI platform and see what the AI robot was going to give me in terms of answers. It was pretty accurate, but there were some things that were not correct. So even the robot can get some of these calcs wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
But what I will say is that I did this, 2 years ago when I started using AI, and the robot is learning. It's getting very knowledgeable very fast because the answers are more accurate than they were 2 years ago.
It's good.
and it depends on the system you're using. Because if
Yeah.
you're using a private and closed system, the data that you're having, you can refine at a different level to get the results that you want better than you can in an open public system, particularly the one that you're not paying for, which isn't quite as knowledgeable as some of the paid ones. So,
Yeah.
what level you're working with and what system you're working with all has an impact on that error rate.
It does. And everybody, thank you very much for being here. We're going to take maybe, Mark, maybe one more question if you wouldn't mind. We don't want to, we want to get Ben and Mike out of here. Mike's got restaurants to design and Ben has the data to extract for retailers. Maybe we'll take one more and we'll wrap it up.
Let's see.
Using artificial intelligence, of course.
Yeah, they're really starting to flow. So let me
Great engagement. A lot of great questions.
Yeah, really are. Very good. It shows everybody that you're all interested in this subject. I'm fascinated by it. And I'm learning about this all the time. Ben and Mike have been, and Mr. Royden have been guest speakers before. And every time we get together, I'm learning more about it. What do you have, Mark? Anything in particular?
This one says often in zoning website, it's redundant with information and overwhelming for small-time developers to build housing and mixed use property in public via Zoomus, but it's not very clever. Zemus?
Yeah,
okay.
Zemus.
And explicitly telling the individual what's possible. So can AI be helpful in making quicker decisions in terms of developing land or zoning and coding?
Okay, well, thanks for the question. I really appreciate that. I actually teach real estate development here at Extension. What don't I teach, right?
Right.
What don't I teach? I think artificial intelligence is uniquely capable of scrubbing data and finding zoning. Like, for example, if you have a particular idea of a project that you might want to build, well, you can prompt the AI robot to find sites that might be zoned for that, or maybe find sites that are proximate to whatever offsite externalities you're looking for, and then find that site based on that zoning. So I think AI is very well positioned to do that. Ben, what do you guys work on with zoning in your retail business?
Yeah, that's typically kind of downstream or upstream of kind of where we are. But I would say in my past life, reading through countless, P&Z meeting minutes and looking at zoning code, I wish I had AI and LLMs at that time, because to your point, I think it could be a massive time saver. And you could even say like, hey, what, zoning changes have happened in the last 24 months? What's the precedent? Who's on the council? Who voted in favor of or against? Like, you could just be so much more informed going into those conversations to
Yeah.
say, hey, this thing has a good probability, or there's no chance, it's got a snowball's chance of getting approved.
Yeah, and city and planning commission meeting minutes are always posted online because
Yep.
those are government hearings, and the AI robot can go out and scrub
Yep.
and look for even kind of trends in conversations based on the record in the meeting minutes about what might be happening in zoning. It's fascinating. Mike, do you guys do anything with zoning and kind of F&B?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that as the quality of the minutes improve over time, the quality of the data from the robot improves also.
Yeah.
Real estate is this kind of dinosaur, and meeting minutes and things like that are this boring thing that, it doesn't quite line up, the address isn't quite right, or, all this kind of stuff that happens, there's a drift in it. So I think as those systems improve, the AI is catching it better, and you can predict a little bit more. Royden was doing EPUM the last time we were, and that thing was pretty cool. I really like that, from entitlement programming and things like that. It was very interesting software also.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Mark, is there anything else? Or are you ready to kind of put a button on it?
There's a bunch of others, but as you said, I don't want to hold up our panelists or you. We'll try and get some information out to people. But really the bottom line is, if this is interesting to you and you've got questions that haven't been answered, and you want to delve more deeply into it, Mark's class is going to be your opportunity to do that. So
Yeah, we'll teach the artificial intelligence and real estate class in the spring. We launched it just this last fall. It was very well received. Very grateful that our panelists have been here to talk about this subject. I learn about it all the time. If you are interested in learning more, we'll even go into this in further depth in the spring. Check the UCLA Extension website and just search for artificial intelligence in real estate. There's a couple of links to the course, not to spend a 30-second spot, but if you are interested in it, we're going to dive into it deeper. Very grateful that everybody's been here. Thanks, Mark.
thank you all for taking your time and sharing your expertise. I really appreciate the panel and all of you coming to participate in the seminar.